What's up, guys? Today I'm going to share with you about one of the most important topics as a Beachbody coach, which is sharing your story. Sharing your story is extremely terrifying the first time, and even probably the second or third, but it's also one of the most important parts of being a coach because it's how people connect with us. So I'm going to talk to you about why it's so important and then also give you specific steps to take when sharing your story. So, like I kind of mentioned, the reason we share our story is because it's how people connect with us. It's what makes us more relatable. If someone only sees the end results and has no idea how you got there or the struggles you faced, it's hard for them to connect to. Imagine someone who's extremely fit and even maybe competes in physique competitions, but the person has no idea they lost 200 pounds to get to that point. They're going to look at that person, probably in a judgmental way, and have no idea or no ability to relate to them. They're like, I could never look like that. I could never do that. I don't have those genes. But what they're missing is all the struggles that that person went through to lose that weight and get into that incredible shape. Same thing, someone who lives in $1 million home. You know, for a lot of us, we're like, oh, that's impossible. They must have grown into money or gotten lucky. But what we don't know is the struggles they faced to get there, of working 80-hour weeks and the sacrifices they took and all of, you know, the hard work or the ideas that went into that. And so without knowing those struggles, it's easy to dismiss those end results. So sharing your story of how you got there is critical to connecting with people. Also, because you guys know I love psychology, I've got to throw a little bit of that in there. And what research shows is that when people make a disclosure to another person, that person feels closer to them and is more likely to make a disclosure back. And so how that applies to coaching, right? We make a disclosure through sharing our story publicly. When people read that and they connect with that, they're going to like us more. And that opens that door for them to disclose back and reach out for help. We're starting that relationship before we've even maybe made contact with them. So it's really important because it's how people relate to us and it's what's going to encourage them to want to work with us as a coach. All right, so something to consider is when you share your story, you have to be real. Are you the same person in person as you are on social media? Or on social media, are you living this perfect, happy life and everything's great, and then at home, you know, things aren't great and you struggle with your nutrition and, you know, you're a stressed out single mom? You've got to share those struggles because otherwise when, you know, people see through that. They know if you're not being real. All right. One interesting thing, and if you were at 2015 Summit, Melanie Mitro is the top coach. She has been for the last 2 years. And when they honored her for being a top coach, they did this little presentation and it was all based on her being a hot mess. And in society, that has a negative connotation, but in our business, we all are hot messes. We've all got our things, right? But where she succeeds is she shares that in a way that inspires and helps people connect with her. It's how she's so successful. And so, you know, that was really what got her to the place she's in now. Think about that when you're struggling to share your story. Basically, sharing our story helps show that we're real and we're vulnerable. It helps us build confidence in who we are and how far we've come. It helps grow our business, of course. And, you know, ultimately, people aren't joining this business for the products. They see these products on infomercials, they see them in advertisements, but they haven't joined yet. They join because of you and their relationship with you and how these products have changed your life. And if you don't share that on a real level, they'll never know. So that's why it's so important. So what is your story? Well, it could take 3 different forms. It could be a physical transformation, of course. You've lost weight, potentially you had an eating disorder and you were actually able to gain weight and learn a healthy lifestyle. You built muscle. Maybe you're a runner and you gained endurance like you've never had by cross training. Or a mental or emotional transformation. You built confidence. You're more positive. You have overcome anxiety or depression because of this. And then there's the financial transformation, which is really relevant for coaches, right? Maybe you were able to fill your gas tank all the way full instead of half full, or pay for the grocery bill, or your Shakeology was free. Maybe even you paid for a vacation with you and your family. Whatever it is, your transformation in your story is important. There is no transformation too small. So if you feel like I've only lost 2 pounds, that's not a story, that's not worth sharing. That it is. Because how many people would like to lose 2 pounds and start on that journey and they haven't yet, or they haven't found the tools to work? Maybe you only made $50 off of selling a challenge pack last month. That $50 is still important. That allows you to afford something you couldn't otherwise. It took a stressor off of you, whatever it was. No transformation of your story is too small. You still need to share that. And in fact, honestly, you look at, again, Melanie Mitra, the top coach, and she's wildly successful in this. Is that easier for someone to connect with, or someone who's lost 250 pounds versus someone who's lost 5 pounds or made $50? That's almost more relatable. So even if you're just starting your journey, don't be afraid to share that, because that is what people connect with, and that is reasonable for them. And so you almost have a little bit of an advantage there. All right, and if you feel like you can't share your own story yet, you can still share the story of other coaches on our team, of our challengers, or your story of where you're going. So maybe I've lost 5 pounds and I am working toward losing another 10, and I know that this is the solution for me because it's working so well already and I feel inspired and motivated and my team's holding me accountable. That's your story then. Show where you're going. Show your confidence in this. Okay, so basically what we're doing when we're sharing our story is we're turning our trials into our triumphs, our struggles into our story, our adversity into our advantage, and our mess into our message, right? We're turning those negative experiences and those difficulties into what's gotten us here today and all the awesomeness that's happening now. With that, the key is we're going to share our struggles, right? And I know some people fear, well, I don't want to come off as negative, right? As coaches, we're supposed to be positive and uplifting, and won't it come off as negative if I'm sharing my struggles? No, it's how you do it. If you sit and you complain and you whine, yeah, it's going to be negative. Don't post that. If you're going to turn it, like I just mentioned, all of those trials and the mess and the adversity, if you're transitioning that and you're turning it into the positive message, then that is perfect. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in the rest of this call. It's important to share those, and it connects with people because our struggles have put us where we are today. It's made us who we are. That resiliency and those things we've overcome and proven to ourselves that we could do, that's who we are now, and that's where we're at, and that's what we need to share. We want to show them where we were and how we got to where we are now so that they can see themselves in a similar situation. What do you want to stand for? Who do you want to connect with? Who do you want to help? What's your mission? What's your vision? Why are you doing this? You're sharing that with your story. You're going to find the people that have the same reasons, that connect with your story through sharing your story. You're going to find your tribe. That's what this is about, finding your tribe. And this is a critical element in doing that. Okay, so how to tell your story, the meat of the call, or the video, right? How do I actually get started? Well, you're going to pick one part of your story. You have so many parts of your story, so many trials and tribulations that you faced, but you're going to start with one. You're going to share when it happened. Give a little bit of background. So before, you're going to start with your before. What was the struggle and what was the problem? What were you going through? And I want you to share the emotional aspect of not only I was so many pounds overweight, but how did that feel? How did that hold you back? How did that affect your life? Did it interrupt your ability to have energy, to walk up the stairs without losing your breath, to play in the backyard with the kids? Did it put you in trouble with your job because your physical, you had some red flags on that? How did that hold you back? And what was it that made you want to make that change? What was that trigger, that last straw where you're like, I've got to do something about this. This is it. I have to do something. That's what I want you to share. The next step is the during. What you did to fix it and overcome that problem. Obviously, you need to emphasize Beachbody. How did these products or the community or the challenge groups, how did that help you overcome that problem? I don't want you to be too specific here because we have to create interest and we want people to reach out to us for the details. So instead of saying, oh, I use the 21-day fix and Shakeology, maybe say I started a 3-week program that focused on, proper nutrition and simple exercises, and I had my coach to support me and an accountability group, because now they're like, oh, I wonder what that 3-week program is, right? Instead of going on eBay and buying it because you told them, now it puts them in connection with you so that you can be their coach and help them get the results that they deserve. All right, the next step is the after. What you found and what your results were, what you accomplished. This is where you're at now, and I want you to be so descriptive, and I want you to get emotional. I want you to share, how your life has changed on that physical, emotional, or financial, in that way. And the more real and genuine, and the more you can describe that impact on all of the areas of your life that this has had, the better. Now, because I phrased it before, during, and after, you can see you're telling a story, and you want to go through those stages. You want to be clear and organized, and when you reach that after, I want you to segue back to the beginning. Make that comparison of the before and after. The next step, after you've done that, is a call to action, and that could be to join you in a challenge group. That could be you're calling them to think about how their life could improve with something like this. Asking them to comment or to like, to show support, something like that. You're calling them to get engaged and involved. A tip here I've got some tips for sharing your story. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. How do we do that? Well, we share it more often. We get used to that. So call up your success partner, call up your coach, volunteer to share on a team call. Call your family or your friends, share that story with them and get used to telling it, because it's so powerful and it's so important. And what I found was the more I tell my story, the more details I realized I was leaving out. And so my story over the last year, I'm not making things up, I just have gotten more comfortable with sharing those uncomfortable details that in the beginning I wasn't willing to. So it'll help you develop and be more confident in that. Simplicity is key. Less is more. So you want to be specific, focus on one thing at a time, and keep it simple. If you reveal your whole story in one post, for one, people are not going to read it or watch the video, they're going to check out. And for two, it can be kind of overwhelming. So instead of being helpful or inspiring, it's kind of like, whoa. Like, have you ever met someone for the first time and they start telling you vivid details about their life, really personal things, and you're like, I don't even know you. This is uncomfortable. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do with this, right? We've all met someone like that. So you don't want to do that right away. You want to ease into it. And you're going to do a technique we call breadcrumbing. Basically, you're going to leave little crumbs to get them interested and engaged. They're going to want to hear more, and they're going to check back. And so you're going to give them one story at a time and one detail at a time. That way they check back for more and they learn more, but it's in a comfortable and inspiring way that they can connect to. All right. A key point is I want you to share your successes. And we're usually pretty good at that as coaches, right? Oh, I've lost 5 pounds. Oh, these summer shorts that didn't fit last year fit now. I didn't eat any coffee today because I was so energized. But what we forget sometimes is to share that struggle that came first. And so I want you to share your success, absolutely. But I also want you to share what you overcame to get there. All right, so 2 questions to ask yourself before you hit post or before you share is this, can this inspire someone? Is this inspiring? And then also, is this going to help someone? Is this going to make a difference for them? If it's not, then why are you sharing? You know, you've got to think about who you're trying to reach and whether it's going to help them. And if it's not, are you just posting a negative thing to post it? Are you being real and sharing something that's actually helpful, or are you beating around the bush and sharing something not as important? I mean, you've really got to consider, like, the whole purpose of sharing these struggles and our story is to help others. And so you've got to consider, and sometimes it's just a difference of, you know, reworking it and using some of the format I've given you. You have to be real. You have to be genuine. You have to be vulnerable. If you're not, you're wasting your time. If you're gonna hide behind things you're not willing to share, then people aren't going to connect with it. And I did this for a long time. Most coaches start with that. It's hard to be vulnerable, but if you're not going to, you're not going to help anyone. So don't be fake. Don't. They're going to see through it. You're going to break trust, and they're not going to want to connect with you or have you be their coach, obviously, if they can't trust you. Okay, a couple more tips. Know your audience. Talk to that one person. I kind of talked about this before. Speak to who your audience is, your tribe. And, you know, sometimes for me, I think about who I was before I started this journey. And I think about where I was and the struggles I was facing and why I joined. And that's who I speak to. I speak to the Erin 2 years ago because I needed this, right? And that's who I want to help, is the people that were in that situation that are going to benefit like I did. I want you also to know your story matters. Kind of like I said, no transformation is too little. People are going to connect with you, especially you already have friends and family out there. They're going to connect with you and your story more than some stranger. So know that your story is important. Absolutely. Watch for the so what factor. What is that? You know, when you kind of like hear a news story or even you read someone else's post on Facebook and you're like, okay, so what? And what was the point? Be aware of that. If you're posting something that's going to leave someone wondering those questions, you didn't follow the format, okay? You've got to have that conclusion and that action and have some benefit to people that are reading or watching it. Don't try to be perfect in your presentation. I remember when I first started, I would record over and over and over and over again to get the perfect video, or, you know, and I'm not saying don't plan. Sometimes it's better not to, but do what you gotta do, right? Proofread your post. But don't worry about perfection, because then that's contradictory to what you're trying to do with being vulnerable and sharing your story anyway. And finally, have faith that you can do it. The hardest things to post are the things you need to. If you are struggling to push post, if you're struggling to push the go live button like I was last week, that's an indicator that you need to. The things that are most scary are the things that are connected with people that people will connect with the most. And so have faith that you can do it. You are strong enough to do that, and it is going to make an impact. And, you know, beyond helping other people, you will feel relief of coming clean and putting that out there and not having to pretend to be someone you're not, or being fake, or, you know, being different on social media than you are in real life. I mean, that's hard, and it's a front, and it's not real, and people connect with realness, and nobody's perfect. Nobody's Superwoman, and when we pretend to be, it's easier for them to dismiss us. So I just really encourage you to, and I'm going to call you to action. In this video, I'm calling you to action. I want you to write out your story. One, at least one, pick one, the most powerful one, the one that really is the reason you are where you are now, the major struggle you overcame. And I want you to write that down, and I want you to share that. I want you to share it on your Facebook. I want you to share it with your coach or your success partner. I want you to share it within the next couple days, and If you have to start with a coach, that's fine. But then after that, I want you to share it publicly. I know you can do it. Have faith in yourself and go for it, because this is going to change your business.